Being a music artist is the lowest paying career on the earth. Yes or no? Drop a comment. Well, what we do know is that it can be almost impossible to sustain a living wage as a music creator, at least here in the United States. And I think that's fair to say for the average music creator, the average independent creator. And it's interesting because Garbage lead singer Shirley Manson had something to say about the music business. This was just a few nights ago.
We have announced that this is our last headline tour of North America. By that we mean it has become entirely unsustainable for a band like us to come and tour anywhere except the coasts. And it's upsetting, but we've had a glorious 30-year career and we really have no complaints. But I bring this up every night because I think it's imperative that we all start to understand what exactly is going on in the music industry. And it's difficult to get your head around, right? Because you see all these big pop stars and they're making billions and billions and billions of dollars, and they're rich and they're glamorous and they're amazing. But the problem is that most of the music industry is not made of these big pop stars. They're made of working musicians.
Now, we love Garbage over here at Top Music Attorney. In fact, I have covered them twice. But as far as just the general sentiment about the music business, and not even just the big pop stars that are making the billions and the billions, Spotify in general, my understanding is that you have to have something like 800,000 streams per month in order to have what would be the equivalent of a $15 an hour job. And so it's very hard to have a sustainable career in kind of the streaming era. Now that's compared to, well, what was it? Spotify reported for 2024. It's like we paid out $10 billion in streaming royalties, and we're like, to who? But surely wasn't done.
And this is not a pity party for us. This is an alarm call for all the young generations of musicians who are in our wake and who we feel duty bound to speak up for, because there's nobody speaking up for them. There is no governmental body, there's no fucking real effective union for musicians that fights for young musicians to get paid. The average musician makes $12 a month on Spotify. They're sleeping in their vans, they're holding down numerous jobs, and they're playing their guts out every night. And the fact that they are not even able to sell a record, and it's taken from them by rich motherfuckers on streaming platforms who get paid royally, by record labels who get paid royally, by ticket masters who get paid royally, by merch companies who get paid royally. The list goes on and on and on. There's accountants, there's lawyers, they all fucking getting paid, except for the musician. So I bring this up tonight because you are the ones who will lose out on generations of esoteric, risk-taking, creative, adventurous, weirdos, rebels, agitators, provocateurs. You're going to get fucking white bread.
Okay, so look, in the realm of what's happening right now as far as your royalties, how are you guys getting paid, and what's forecasted to be coming up? This is the important piece of literally how can we make you more money. What I will focus on is that there are unions and there are different groups that are taking action, but are they doing enough? If you guys remember, we covered, for example, the HITS Act. So that actually passed. And we were surprised because there was like no talk about this. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, this passed. Yay. The organization behind this is American Association of Independent Music. And if you remember, the whole thing about this is like it delivers a tax break for independent music creators. And this is if you pay up to $150,000, let's say to create your album, that's the amount that you get to write off with your taxes at the end of the year. And we sat there and we're like, but you can do that anyway. When we dug into this, what really came to fruition is that the way it works is that if you're like a normal independent music creator that spends, I don't know, let's say $5,000, $10,000 on your record, you get to deduct that as a business expense anyway. There's not, this was before the HITS Act and this is after the HITS Act. It really just applied to, I would say, large independent record labels. So what I mean by that is that there is a designation if you are dumping $100,000, $150,000 into a record that you wouldn't be able to necessarily write out the whole thing. So anyway, we're like, okay, this is a win, I guess, not for the average independent music maker. That was our problem. And so then we kind of turned our attention. We're like, all right, what else is in the pipeline? And so we looked at this Living Wage for Musicians Act. And this was a bill that was proposed in 2024. And this was kind of interesting because what they were proposing, they're like, essentially, we want to get the government to force Spotify to do two things. One is to increase its subscription amount, because then that extra little buffer is what's going to go into this new pool that's going to pay music creators. We're going to basically pass it on to the consumer. And I'm like, I wonder if people are going to pay that. But anyway, they go, so a part of it's that. The other part of it has to do with the advertisement. So whatever Spotify gets paid through ad dollars, they have to pay 10% into this pool. So they go, we're going to build this big old pool. And if this works, then this is going to be a whole new streaming royalty for music creators. We want to get you guys more paid. And we're so excited as we're hearing about this. And again, it hasn't passed. This is just in the pipeline. But the new update that we had covered a few months ago was that New York City Council had passed a resolution supporting the bill. So we're like, okay, it's getting a little support. And obviously New York, that's a huge deal. And so we're like, what's the problem here? And unfortunately, we found one, which is, even though the argument is we want to get you paid instead of 0.0003 cent on the dollar or per stream, we want to get you paid 1 cent per stream. So therefore it can really add up. And in fact, this would cut out music distributors, because now the money doesn't go through your music distributor, and we have all kinds of problems with them. If you guys have been following this channel very long, it's going to go to this government charity. You go sign up, you get paid. So that was one good thing. But then what ended up happening is we go, well, where is the money going to go? And we found out that it's going to go to SAG-AFTRA AFM. That's an existing fund right now. And the problem is that that existing fund is almost impossible to get access to. So our call to action, we're like, hey, because this charity behind it is United Musicians and Allied Workers. Again, another group on behalf of music creators. So we go, hoorah for the huge effort behind this, like 5 years of work, amazing. But in practical effect, if you get this done, there has to be something meaningful put into place, because you can't have it go into this fund that is near impossible to get access to. So there's that, okay? So we go, all right, so all these things are kind of going on right now in the United States, and we're trying to get you guys paid more or whatever. And then this huge news came out, which is in Ireland. The government has quietly been doing this 3-year pilot test. And so what they did is they go, we're doing a national experiment to literally pay a living wage to artists. Now, this wasn't just music creators, right? So it's all kinds of different artistic types in the theater arts and all kinds of things. What they did is they took 2,000 artists and they go, we're going to give you a living wage, which is, for US dollars, the equivalent is about $1,500 a month. And then they also had a different group. So they have 2,000 in the paid group. They have 1,000 in the unpaid group that they're doing as just, again, the control group. And so they go, we're just going to compare. So they did this for, again, 3 years, and they invested something like $78 million into this. Again, all government sponsored. And what was amazing is that what they found was that, of course, the income for the artists went up in their productivity. It went up in their mental well-being. It went up. These were all good things, and they were able to point to in a report that they did. They're like, not only is this super great for music creators, but it actually made us more money, right? This was our economic engine, which was very cool, because they now had hard data to point to, because now guess what? This little test pilot thing that they did is becoming permanent going into 2026. So it's pretty incredible, because they go, we're literally looking at the fact that artists' income increased on average $545 a month. So just they were making more money in general. They had to take less non-art jobs on the side. So that decreased. Their reliance on welfare decreased. And then the general output, just generally into art, was like 22%. So that means new exhibitions, new shows, new releases. For me, reading about this today was just very inspiring, because I go, this is something that can be replicated so many different ways. It doesn't even have to be the government. I go, if we're just talking about a lump of money that you can apply to be a part of, which is what this was. When you applied, you didn't have to do any outputs. That's kind of what was cool here. You applied, and obviously you need to give a couple of things. I'm sure they were, looking at your websites and your social medias, and they need to see that you obviously are a creator. But once you were in the program, they did not require you to have certain outputs or to make sales or anything like that. But nonetheless, again, through just hard data, they were able to show that essentially valuing artists for what they are, workers, and paying them for what they are, workers, it helps, right? In the general identity of the nation, tourism, innovation, emotional infrastructure. For me, again, this is just very inspiring, because this is something that can be replicated, and to do it in a way so successfully that they did on just this kind of experiment. But now they're like, no, we are the first of the kind around the world to make this a permanent thing, where we are literally going to have a living wage for our creators, because you guys are so important. And it's nice just to have that acknowledged, you know what I'm saying? Because for everything, including in the entertainment industry, in the music business, everything truly is built off of the backs of the innovators, the creators. But yeah, you guys are literally the most, or least, important. You get paid the least, you get the least respect, but all of this only exists because of you. So for me, the takeaway here is what does this prove? It proves that basic income works. There is a way that this can be structured, and making the investment into this group of people is very important And the return for the government that's investing in their people is going to be, it's measurable, it's immediate. And so this goes back to like the big thing that we focus on this channel is the DIY nature. It's always you can be your own investor, and sometimes you have to be. You have that day job because it's the thing that is paying for this other job until you're able to have this job pay for itself. And in that transition, well, this proved having $1,500, right? So roughly $350, $375 a week made the biggest impact so that these creators were able to then take more gigs, create more gigs, right? And create the energy that they needed to really launch what they were doing. So DIY framework, we have all kinds of videos on this channel to help you with that. Releasing your music on your own website, selling it, and allowing your fans to also support you. That's a piece of this. You know, here it's like having the government come in to try to help, but also your fans want to support you. And so giving them a way to do that is really important. Giving them a website that they can go to, giving them a way to pay what they want for your music. So it's not just $1. Maybe they give you $20, maybe they give you $50. Basically, in this, I felt very inspired that this is something that is not only possible, it's not even theoretical. It is now hard, proven, there's data behind it. And so I go, why isn't the US doing that? And how do we basically get one of these charities on board? How do we get our government on board in our brainstorming? Please leave a comment down below. I'm excited. I hope you are too. I'm Top Music Attorney, and I'll see you on the next one.